It has been home to a military fort, an infamous federal prison, and a Native American civil rights movement. Today, Alcatraz Island is a national park, with over 1.4 million visitors each year. Alcatraz is situated 1.25 miles off the coast of San Francisco. It is a short 15-minute ferry ride across the bay to Alcatraz. The ferry leaves from Pier 33. We booked the day tour for approximately $50 per person. The island is a rugged landscape with cliffs that rise as high as 50 feet, earning it the nickname, The Rock. Alcatraz has a complicated history, but it has been a prison almost from the very beginning. In 1850, the military proposed a three-point defensive strategy for San Francisco Bay, with forts on both sides of the Golden Gate, as well as a smaller fort on Alcatraz Island. By the time the Civil War broke out, 400 soldiers were stationed on the island, with cannon batteries on every flank. During the Civil War, soldiers convicted of different types of crime were imprisoned here. Alcatraz was also used by the Army for incarceration of Native Americans during the various Indian Wars of the mid to late 19th century. Alcatraz was decommissioned by the Army in 1907. Within a year, the Army began building a huge concrete cell house, and in 1915 renamed it to the United States Disciplinary Barracks Pacific Branch, which then housed military prisoners. In 1934, the facility was transferred from the War Department to the Department of Justice and reopened as a federal penitentiary. In the 29 years that Alcatraz was open, 1,543 men served time here. Most of the men had been troublemakers at other prisons, and only a handful were notorious, such as Al Capone or the Birdman of Alcatraz. It was thought that Alcatraz was escape-proof due to the strong currents and cold waters of San Francisco Bay. However, there were 14 escape attempts involving 36 inmates. Of those attempts, 23 were recaptured, 7 were killed, and 3 drowned. The remaining 3 were from the famous attempt in June of 1962 by Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin. They created dummy heads for the beds, chipped away at the vents using improvised tools. They climbed up to the roof, and then launched a makeshift raft into San Francisco Bay. Despite a massive search, they were never found and remain missing to this day. Alcatraz Federal Prison was closed in 1963 by U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy due to high maintenance and operational costs. Prisoners were transferred to other federal correctional facilities, and Alcatraz was left to the care of a lone custodian. The Native American Civil Rights Movement made a stand at Alcatraz 3 different times, and Alcatraz has a very interesting display on the history of the movement. Initially, on March 4th of 1964, a small group of Lakota occupied the island for 4 hours. The protesters left under threat that they would be charged with a felony. Five years later, on November 9th of 1969, a small group of 14 individuals landed on the island and claimed it in the name of the Indians of all tribes. They stayed overnight before leaving the next day. Just days later, on November 20th of 1969, a large group of Native Americans successfully landed on Alcatraz and began a sustained occupation that lasted for 19 months. At the height of the occupation, 400 people were living on Alcatraz, including families and children. However, over time, the numbers on the island began to dwindle, and supplies became an issue for the community, especially fresh water. The government also cut off all electrical power and telephone services to the island in May of 1971. Then on June 11th of 1971, federal agents removed the few individuals on the island who remained, which brought the occupation to an end. Although controversial, the occupation of Alcatraz was largely seen as a success for gaining international attention to the lives of Native Americans in the United States. In 1972, Alcatraz was designated as part of the newly created Golden Gate National Recreation Area. In the fall of 1973, the island was open to the public. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out our others as well.